So, and that's why, like for us, for Grata Software, we focus on using AI to solve our customers' specific problems for their industry and what they're
Mhm.
doing using their data that we can control, that we know is accurate. We can clean it, and we have total control of that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I gave that example of like the sports thing. The sport, that's actually a real solution. Like we're actually working on an AI model. We're working on an AI solution that'll help colleges determine recruitability of players that they're
Okay.
coming up through the system. High school and travel basketball and all that kind of stuff. All that because, like, again, I coach travel basketball, so it
Yeah.
kind of like one of these things is as I'm sitting there doing my thing, I just come up with these ideas like, oh
Yeah.
man, this is how we could use this to
And use it
optimize
in the
decision
perfect seat to
making.
figure out how to actually do it, which is really cool. You can actually go and do it, and not have to think
Exactly.
about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Kind of like the app I built, right? Like, oh, you
Right.
need this. Ooh, I could build
Yeah.
that. It's like, so that's kind of where that comes from. That's what we were talking about AI. That's the AI solutions that we focus on.
So that's really cool, and I didn't expect to have this conversation with you, which I think is fascinating because I've been talking with a couple of my other clients about AI, sort of anecdotally, and we've come to this conclusion that is exactly how you're presenting it. That is, I think the play for AI now and increasingly now is this private data, mining private data and basically utilizing it for competitive advantage in whatever
Hmm.
way.
Yep.
So it's cool to see that you're actually doing these things. I'm
Yep.
curious to know, are you building um, from scratch, or are you taking off the shelf models and adapting them?
It's a great question because we actually looked at building it ourselves versus the off the shelf.
Mhm.
The issue with building it yourself is power. You need power. You need resources. To build a whole model from scratch is kind of crazy. The amount of power that you need, the amount of resources you need. In
Okay.
fact, you can use, like, Google has a phenomenal suite of models. They're not pre-trained. They're like models that you could use and you can as a service.
Okay.
Call it AI as a service, I guess,
Yeah.
because that's really what it
Yeah.
is. It allows us to use their mathematical algorithms to create our own model with our own data. And we're actually using it right now for another tool that we're building that allows us to write. Basically, it's a system that you, as a social media person,
Hmm.
an influencer, whatever, you can actually, this thing will write out scripts based on certain parameters that you give it, on your industry, what you're trying to sell, all this kind of stuff. And so we actually decided to build this model ourselves. So we went into Google. We're using Google Gemini, right? Before we were using Google's other platform before it switched to Gemini. And the thing is, um, it takes, like, we do the model, and to train it takes hours. And that's that we're using an off the shelf platform. We're using
Yeah.
a service,
Yeah.
right? So just think about that. We're
Yeah.
using a service and it's taking us hours just to train this model. Like, literally left it overnight to
Yeah.
train. But it's better to use the services that are out there. The reality is all the algorithms and all the models are really owned by the top tech companies,
Sure.
right?